NYSE-listed Grindr reported its Q4 and full-year earnings after Thursday's close, which revealed the company's top line grew by 28% last year. Joining me now is Grindr CEO George Arison. He's here in studio. George, great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so congratulations on a good quarter. I mentioned the 28% revenue growth, 29% year-over-year growth for the quarter. You called it an exceptional year. Tell us what's driving the outperformance.
Yeah, we had a really awesome year. We're really happy with the results, and it's hard to not be happy. Our EBITDA was also the highest I think we've had since we've been public at 44%. And we did more EBITDA in total at $196 million than we did revenue in 2022, the year we went public. So that's more EBITDA than revenue in over 3 years. I think that's my favorite headline from the year. We definitely accelerated growth as the year progressed, partly going into this year. Over the last 3 years, Grindr has built a ton of stuff for our premium subscribers. Mm-hmm. We have 2 subscription models. One is, extra. One's called unlimited. One's $23. And another one's $45. And we had added so much value to those tiers that people were getting a lot of stuff that they were not paying for, basically. And so in August, we started to charge people for all that extra value that we had previously created by pushing prices up a little bit. And so way better results on that than we had expected. We thought there'd be some churn when you raise prices. That's inevitable, but the churn was much lower than we thought it would be. And so the results were much better than we had anticipated. But it's very positive because that means people are valuing what they're getting and are willing to pay for it and kind of realize that some increase in price made sense.
Yeah, I think that is an interesting, really part to point out because you now have 15 million monthly active users paying up 17% year over year. So at a time when consumers are pulling back on so much, they're continuing to pay for Grindr. Why?
Well, in November, we released some demographic data of Grindr users by age. And what you saw is that 46% of US users, half of the worldwide users, are actually under the age of 30. Mm-hmm. So 18 to 29 is kind of by far our biggest demo. And our payer penetration among those actually is lower. Our payer penetration among users who are older, 30 plus, and especially 35 plus, is much, much higher because we shared the demographics on payer penetration. And that happens because we have a very robust free product. So you can use Grindr really well if you don't pay, and it works very well for you. Mm-hmm. But as you age, you end up appreciating some of the value-added service that we offer in the paid tiers, and you start paying. That's a very different demographic split on pairs than most other dating products, where, for example, men are more likely to pay and women don't have to pay because of the way the products are built. And so we end up, I think, doing very well in that dynamic, and a lot of what we're doing long-term is focusing on value-added services at the kind of older generations that want to pay for those while maintaining the free product to be super robust and actually making it even more robust than it is now, because we do want that product to be so awesome for people to come back into the product all the time. And Grindr is very much like a utility. I mean, people spend over an hour a day in the app. They send 50 messages a day in the product.
That's like social media level stickiness,
yes,
really.
It's WhatsApp. We send more messages per user per day than WhatsApp does. And so in that sense, people use it in a lot of different ways, not just for dating. And that's the reason why they're willing to pay for it, because it's a very critical part of their lives. I mean, you cannot replicate that kind of community anywhere else in
And speaking of demographics, I saw 80% of your users are actually outside the US.
So close to that, not quite 80, but
okay.
Yeah,
so where are you seeing the most growth right now?
So Grindr is a very international company. We're in 190 countries and territories. There's just a few select number of countries we don't operate in, like Iran and Cuba and North Korea, primarily because of U.S. government sanctions. And frankly, even in Iran, we've had requests to come into the country many times by local activists, because for a lot of countries like that, where it's still illegal to be gay, Grindr is usually the only way to connect to other gay people. And that's important, obviously, in places like that. So we are pretty much everywhere, and we have a primary position in almost every country in the world, save a couple of places. But we generate revenue in about 20 countries around the world. Obviously, the United States being primary, and then the countries you logically assume where you can drive revenue.
All right, we only have about 30 seconds left, so give us the quick take on what's next. What can we expect from Grindr?
So this year is all about premiumization. We're using AI to premiumize the product and create new types of experiences that previously were not possible before Gen AI. And we're doing that both in the product, but also in how we work. A lot of it is going to be on, today about 70% of the code that we generate is written by AI, but that's obviously the start, not the end of where we want to be. And so AIfying the company or terraforming us to be an AI native company is very much a big internal focus, because the leverage you'll be getting on that over the long term is so huge.
Okay, so using AI to find your match, not actually dating AI, which I've also been seeing. Different story there. George Arison, Grindr CEO, thank you so much for joining me here in studio and shedding some light on your company.